Hey everybody, before we get started, I just wanted to give one last plug to Day 11 podcast. They have been supporting us for a few months at one of the higher tier levels on Patreon, and they had to lower their tier, but I just wanted to make sure that they got the credit for all of the support they've given because I was sick, then had took time off, and I felt like they got a little bit ripped off in terms of the number of podcasts they were featured on. So everybody, if you would do me a favor and go check them out, you can find them at day11podcast.com. Enter Day 11 into your podcatcher. I know that they were recently covering Game of Thrones, and I just, let them know where you found them and leave reviews for them. Just do what you can to support them. They also have a Patreon, patreon.com/day11podcast. So thank you again to Day 11 for supporting us and being great and very patient with me personally. I appreciate you, and I wish you all the success in the world. Good luck. This is an Unspoiled Network podcast. This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who. Season 3, episode, was it 6 and 7?
5 and 6, I think.
5 and 6. Daleks in Manhattan, and the other one, whose name I didn't look up.
Evolution of the Daleks.
All right, that works. It's very straightforward. In these episodes, the Daleks decide that they're going to fuse with humans, and for some reason, don't see the thing coming that anybody would have seen coming. Come on, guys. You're real bad at this. Welcome. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
I am Jamie.
And, so they want to be like, oh, we're going to, fuse with humanity, but we, don't want any humanity. You don't get to choose that, y'all. That's not how this works.
They want to fuse with humanity or with humans, but not have feelings.
Yeah. Bless your hearts. Wouldn't that be nice? So do we all. Guess what, buddies? I recently posted to Rashawn's Facebook feed a Cards Against Humanity combo where the card that somebody had put down was It's a Trap, and the card that won for that round was Genuine Human Connection. And I feel that the Daleks really would agree with that and understand that. It is a trap, but you fell for it, you dum-dums, and that's sort of on you, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, I don't think they understood entirely what was going to happen because they were focused on, they constantly survive and they like to start wars. But...
That's not untrue. All right, fair.
Right, but then Dalek-Sec, fuses with this dude, and suddenly he's like, oh, what is this? What is this? Is it a feeling? Well, now I feel everything, and I have all this empathy, and I don't want to kill everybody. I want us all to just be weird squid cyclops humans. I wanted to enjoy these episodes more because I have tended to enjoy episodes more knowing I'm going to discuss them than I originally did. But I just didn't. I do like Andrew Garfield, who you called Bad Spider-Man, but I like him a lot in this.
Oh yeah, definitely. When I saw him, I was like, who's this guy? I know him from a thing. And then when I realized, because I called him Bad Spider-Man, less because he was bad at being Spider-Man and more because those Spider-Man movies were not good. But the Spider-Man that he played was just kind of obnoxious, but I actually found him somewhat likable personally. Has he been in anything else since those, or did that sort of ruin everything for him? Poor guy. I hate when that happens to actors.
You know, he hasn't been in anything big in a while, but I don't know if you ever saw that movie Never Let Me Go, which is Keira Knightley and Carrie, why am I not remembering her last name?
Bradshaw.
No. Oh my God, everybody's going to kill me because they know exactly who I'm talking about. Anyway, it's a really, really amazing movie, and he's really amazing in it. And so I always recommend that when people want to see him and stuff.
Well, I thought in this that he was very likable. Mm-hmm. And I was pleasantly surprised because sometimes when you see an actor that you recognize from other stuff, and it's clear that this is one of the first pieces of work that they have ever gotten, or you know what I mean? It can be a little bit like tough to separate them from what you know them in, and to not see how new at this they are. And I was really pleasantly surprised that he was so just charming, really.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to know whether they originally intended his character to be from Tennessee, or if they did that because I've heard that British people have an easier time doing a Southern accent when they have to do American than any other accent. For some reason, their brains can attach to that cadence better.
It makes sense because it's all weirdly twisted, and so is British English. So,
yeah. Sorry, Brits. Your accents are weirdly twisted.
They are, though.
This actually was partially filmed in New York.
Was it? I mean, I guess it would have to be. Yeah, there were certain parts of it.
I didn't know that until recently. I thought that this was just another one where it takes place in New York, but it's mostly in Cardiff and it's green screened. But they did go to New York. So, like, I think the Central Park stuff is actually New York. Obviously, the Statue of Liberty was at the Statue of Liberty. It was one of the first times, if not the first time, with new Doctor Who that they went somewhere.
That's cool. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder why they felt like they really had to and couldn't do it with a green screen. I wonder what, like, felt so compelling to them, you know?
I think their budget might have increased this year.
Okay.
So they had a little more to play around with.
That makes sense.
They didn't have to make everything look like, or make Cardiff look like everything, because it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. Well, cool. All right. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this episode. Because there's a lot in this that is really like, all right, I'm hoping that everybody who is listening is ready for it to get super socialist up in this motherfucker. Because I am about to talk all about the exploitation of the lower classes and how we are facing a similar depression in slow motion right now, with more and more people winding up homeless and it growing to be this like epidemic problem in certain areas. Dallas is really starting to go under in that respect because there are so few people who can afford to live. And then there's, you know, Silicon Valley, where it's just gotten to be like a joke that everybody is working for these billion-dollar corporations while living in their car. Mm-hmm. And it is just a little bit too familiar, is all I'm saying, when we're listening to them talking about what's going on.
Nowadays, you wouldn't even be able to have a Hooverville or a shanty town happening in Central Park because the police would kick you right out.
Yep. They
look at
would.
Look at how homeless people just get treated in general. Mm-hmm. As, like, scourge, as, you know, they're vagrants and they're not worthy of even acknowledging, and just let people freeze on the streets during the winter. And it's, at least
we're
back
building
then,
park benches with spikes and shit.
Yeah, I fucking hate
like
that.
so that they can't sleep. Like, it's just so grotesque.
Yeah. There was actually a homeless guy that was asleep in front of my store the other day. He wasn't like blocking the door or anything. Mm-hmm. And I chose to, until I have to actually open the store.
Right.
I'm going to let him continue to rest.
Right.
And then I'll have to, if he doesn't get up on his own, I'll have to just ask him, like, do you want to come inside? Or, I just need you to get out of the front of the doorway. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to leave. I never, unless they're doing something bad, I never ask homeless people to leave.
Yeah, there was a woman who stopped me when I was like going into a Walmart, and she clearly had a drinking problem, like you could smell it, but she was saying that she needed a ride to her son's and that he wasn't going to come and get her, but he said that she could stay the night if she got a ride. And it felt pretty clear to me that her son was just kind of sick of dealing with her shit and was like, I'll help if you figure out your thing, but I'm not going to come get you and whatnot. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll give you a ride. And as we were driving, she was talking about how the cops like came and hassled her over where she was sleeping like near a gas station or something. And she said something like, there's all these people out here doing all this stuff, but sure, come and yell at an old homeless woman. And I was like, you know what, lady, you ain't wrong though. Like, I really feel like we've got some better shit to do, but it's just, they're going to go after people who don't have recourse and can't really defend themselves. And that's just how that works.
We actually had a meeting recently where a representative from a local shelter came and talked to us about what they do and how they help, and that their goal is to break the cycle of homelessness. So anybody that they have come in, they really try to help them, help them not just clean up and have some place to sleep and something to eat, but how can we help you find a job? How can we help you get established so that you can then rent a house again or rent an apartment or whatever? Like, they really want to, their goal is to help stop homelessness as much as possible. And then they gave us all of these little business cards, and the card is a guaranteed bed for one night with a shower and a meal. If you show up with that card, you are guaranteed a bed, at least for one night. And then they'll try to work with you, what are your issues and how can we help? But at least for one night, you for sure have a place to sleep. And I thought that was really nice.
Right. Yeah, I feel like so many people try and behave as if being homeless is like a character defect. And it's just the reality that so many of us are one fucked up month away from being homeless. Like,
my brother was homeless for a while.
I mean, I have several friends who have been homeless, close friends. It is not something that anybody, it's really frustrating to have hard times be equated with someone's faults. And even the woman that, that I gave a ride to, she has a drinking problem. That's like a genuine medical issue dealing with addiction. Yeah. And people act as if, well, if you would just stop drinking, as if it's this very simple thing to just give up. And it's not. It's just, there's so little compassion for folks who are dealing with stuff like that. And then talking about, well, just go get a job. Yeah, you try finding a job when you don't have a permanent address, when you don't have clean clothing to go to an interview in, when you don't have the medicine to deal with your mental illness. And so you have, a seizure or a breakdown or something at work, and they just decide to get rid of you because they can replace you with somebody who does not have those problems. It's just, there's a million reasons why people struggle. And I just get so very angry when it is reduced to essentially, well, they're just trying to mooch off the system.
No, they're really not.
Yeah, because the system's so fucking generous, for sure. Get out of here.
And,
anyway,
to piggyback on that, the people who are actually mooching off the people who are actually mooching off the system are the ones who are already really, really rich.
Listen, it's true.
Welcome to
socialism,
Doctor Who's Socialist Hour.
So this episode starts off in backstage at a theater. Bunch of showgirls about to go out on stage, and we see this girl Tallulah, who is flirting with her man Laszlo, and he is giving her a rose to bring out on stage and asking her to please agree to meet his mother. And it's pretty cute. Like, he's obviously insane about her. And there's like a vibe to her of her being really like not confident about wanting to meet his mother. Because, I mean, being a showgirl is not exactly something that is like seen as highly respectable nowadays. And back then, even if you were doing opera, the fact that you were on stage as a woman was like really kind of questionable.
Why aren't you home raising kids?
You know, like, why do you want attention? Ugh, what a whore, am I right?
Laszlo.
Yeah, her voice is really something in this.
She speaks like Cyndi Lauper.
Is that what Cyndi Lauper speaks like?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, that's amazing. Oh, yeah. You know what? I think, wasn't she on, like, Bones or something?
She was.
I did
You're
see her
right.
in that. That's right. That's so funny. I forgot that she plays a psychic in that. She's amazing.
I totally forgot about that.
So then we go to, he's, like, backstage, and he's watching her, and he wanders down into the basement for some reason.
He hears a noise.
Okay. And he is all like, you know, oh, it's just this weird pirate statue here. It was nothing. And then he turns around and a pig man comes out and attacks him.
I would really like to ask Russell T. Davies, what is your fascination with pig humans?
Yeah, the Daleks did not, even though this episode's called Daleks in Manhattan, I would have assumed that this was one of those pig dudes from the other episode where the guy's collecting things. You know the little guy that's like, that the doctor's real pissed about because they're like really calm, sweet creatures that they've like fucked with. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
You're combining two episodes. The pig creature was in the Slitheen episode where they crash into Big Ben. And the creature that was inside the spaceship was a pig that had been, like, modified to run on its back legs and have a little bit more intelligence. And it was scared.
Oh.
And they killed it. Because they thought it was an alien.
So there's a lot of pigs happening in this show. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and then the guy who was collecting things, he didn't have a pig thing. He had a Dalek and a bunch of other space artifacts.
Okay.
But still, pig creature, or a pig who has been, like, modified in some way in one episode, and now we've got these pig slaves.
Which genuinely... called. What is it why did they make them into pigs? Like, what was it?
I don't know. They never really say.
Because it's just a weird thing. It's like, oh, we'll tell them to do this thing. But, like, pigs are really intelligent creatures. It's not really
Maybe that's why. Maybe because pigs are intelligent, so they, like, fused humans with pigs and turned them into these pig slaves.
But you'd think they would pick something like a dog that's, like, the reputation is that they're obedient and take orders and want to please. Rather than something that's sort of been, like, put as on, like, low-key on par with human intelligence at times, you know?
Maybe they didn't know that about dogs.
Maybe.
They're Daleks. It's not like they can Google.
I would love to know how much research Daleks put into finding anything out about the worlds that they land on before they decide to go through and do shit the way that they do.
They just yelled at that one guy who, like, decided to let them tell him what to do and build this thing on the Empire State Building. What is the smartest animal?
Oh my God.
And he's like, pigs? Pigs are supposed to be smart?
If somebody asked you what the smartest animal is, what would you say?
Either a pig or a dolphin.
Yeah, dolphins
maybe a gorilla.
Came to mind for me also.
Gorillas are really smart.
Yeah, that's true. So are elephants, right? Oh my God, can you imagine if they tried to make elephant slaves? That would be a whole different idea. That story wouldn't end quite the same way. A bunch of elephant slaves hiding inside the Empire State Building. Not going to happen.
No.
So he gets attacked, and then credits, and then we go to our two friends landing in Manhattan, and Martha being really excited because we are at the Empire State Building, and she has wanted to go to New York for some time, and she's feeling pretty excited. Or not?
We're at the Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. Do you know how often I do that? Like I call the Statue of Liberty the Empire State Building so much. So much.
Have you ever been to the Statue of Liberty?
No. I don't think so. I'm actually wondering now. I might have as a kid and just not remember.
I've been to New York a few times, and I have never been to... I've seen it from an airplane, but I've never actually gone downtown to go to it.
Yeah.
And I went to the Empire State Building, but the line was 45 minutes long to get to the elevator to go up, and I had a train to catch, so I didn't have the time.
Boo.
And then the other times that I went, I didn't even think about going, which is dumb. I can't believe I haven't gone to the top of that yet.
Yeah, I definitely did the Empire State Building at one time. But I was probably like 4 years old. I've been to New York like a dozen times, but I've never done any of the like tourist stuff really. I should probably get on that. I should probably go with Owen. Because he would love that kind of stuff, you know? So, yeah, he talks about going to Hooverville. And she's like, what are you talking about? And, as somebody who is all too aware of some of our nation's more ugly histories, I immediately knew what that was. And I was like, oh, really? We're going to do this? Okay, interesting.
He does see a headline in a newspaper saying that there's been a rash of people vanishing from Hooverville.
Right. So they head to this camp, and he says there are places like this all over America. No one's helping them. You only come to Hooverville when there's nowhere else to go. And then we see a couple of dudes who get into a fist fight over a loaf of bread. And the one guy is like, hey, that's mine. And the other dude is like, I didn't steal it. What are you talking about? He's a liar. But then it becomes clear that he really did steal it. And he's like, listen, I'm starving to death. And the mediator rips the bread in half and gives that guy some. And I have to say, I struggled with being like, that dude lied. Don't give him half that bread. I would have been fine with you doing this if it was just somebody starving who was like, oh my God, bread, please. But that guy tried to make it like the other dude just flipped out for no reason. And I was just like, I'm not here for this.
And what race were they?
Guess the race. A white guy accusing a black guy of lying and freaking out for no reason.
Shocking.
Weird. Yeah, so I think that was also a part of it. I was like, don't give the white guy bread, black guy.
Certainly don't give him half.
A harder time with this. Yeah, give him a quarter of it if you're going to give him some. Don't split it down the middle. You don't know what this family, that this other guy is dealing with. Like maybe he has some kids that he was about to bring this back to.
Right.
But sure. Anyway.
Look, I've seen Les Mis.
Reparations.
And that dude went to jail for stealing a loaf of bread, and this guy got to keep half of it.
That fucking...
I hate Les Mis. I hate it so much.
I get so mad about it. There are parts of, like, some of the music I think is beautiful, and then a lot of it. I really love the Liam Neeson movie that does not actually have any music in it at all.
I need to see that because I really love the story, but the music... most of the songs make me want to stab myself in the face while my boyfriend sits there crying because he can't even hear a note from Les Mis without bursting into tears. He has like an involuntary reaction to anything from Les Mis, including the fake Les Mis that Key and Peele did. That made him cry. And I was like, you have a problem.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Bless his heart.
But we went to see that movie, the one with Anne Hathaway and Hugh Jackman, and I hated every second of it except for Anne Hathaway.
I have not seen that one.
Well, don't, because it's infuriating, and Russell Crowe is terrible and brings every scene he's in down. But Anne Hathaway's performance was really great.
Well, Jeffrey Rush plays the inspector. What's his name? Javert, yeah. And Liam Neeson plays 24601, or is that his name? But yeah, it's a really good cast. And I think, is it Claire Danes?
Is it Claire Danes in it? Yeah, she plays Fantine.
Oh, she is
Cosette.
Always cast as like the retiring, like old-fashioned girl. I always think of her in Little Women too. She played Beth.
Yeah.
Spoiler, who dies of consumption very slowly.
We had a long talk about Little Women.
Yeah, guys, listen to the book club. You know, one of the ones that I did like 4 months ago and then haven't done another one since because everything has gone wrong. Anyway, all right. So we see this and, you know, it's a moment of really pointing out just how dire things have gotten for everybody. And they are, you know, this dude says something about how like black, white, we're all starving. And I'm like, that's a really admirable, like, sentiment, but you gotta know that it's going to be easier for white guys to get work and get food. Like, whoever wrote this script, it does not feel like they were a black person or that they were interested in really like reflecting on what the reality was of the situation.
I appreciate that they continually keep the casting diverse on this show, but it does make me wonder, and I'm sure I could find out somehow, Googling or whatever, how much of the percentage of Hoovervilles were white, and whether or not the black population or the Latino population, or at that time the Italian population,
Irish,
were allowed to assimilate with them in these little shanty towns, or if they had to have their own, like, you don't belong here. Because I'm guessing that's more likely the truth.
Yeah, I would definitely guess that. I mean, it's just, and there, it's also the fact that Martha is here and it's like, you know, the 30s and nobody seems to be treating her any differently also felt very like, completely out of there's no surprise with Tallulah that she and the doctor are together. And just like, let's be honest, guys, a white man and a black woman having any sort of romantic relationship was really fucking dangerous. Like, straight up, you could be killed for that.
And in 1930, for sure.
Yeah, you know.
Nobody would just be like, oh, so you guys are just palling around together? Cool, cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it just kind of bothered me that, like, we're going to have the casting, and yet we're going to kind of ignore, like, what that really would have been. And I understand that it's a really, like, hard subject. It's intense and difficult. But then don't pick this period. Do something else. Like, if you want to have a huge impoverished population that powers are exploiting, you can go to pretty much any time period. And that will be true, and those people will be available for somebody to be taking advantage of and exploiting.
Well, in defense of the show, there's a couple things. It's not that kind of show. Mm-hmm. It's not really going to dive deep into those types of issues. And I have to give them credit for bringing this situation to a generation of people that probably never learned about it, especially in the UK. Mm-hmm. So, you know, bringing some knowledge of this during the Depression, these people lost everything, and this is how they had to live, while other people were still, like, building the fucking Empire State Building. And isn't that crazy? Mm-hmm. Hopefully it made other people go and Google, like, did that really happen?
Hopefully.
Yeah. But it is a show for children or for families, and they're not going to dive super deep into social issues per se. They'll address them on a very surface level.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So you're both welcome, both of you. And then we cut to the actual, this dude who fancies himself to be in charge, but is actually going to be turned into a pig man pretty shortly.
Oh, no, he turns into the Dalek.
Oh, that's
no. Right. There's a first guy. No, the guy who turns into a pigman, he just is objecting to having to do more work. Right?
Wait. Oh,
he's the foreman.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm getting this all messed up. Yeah.
The foreman is objecting to like having to accelerate the construction because, we don't have the men. That's a lot of extra work. It's really cold up there. It's really dangerous. And what's the rush? We're on schedule.
Yeah, this dude is saying, like, your masters want you to... And the dude's like, who exactly are the masters? And this guy is like, how about you stop asking questions? And I'm like, that's a real weird reaction to somebody just asking who we're working for. But okay, buddy, that's not suspicious at all. And yeah, it turns out that this dude is... his aim is to basically, like, run the city. And the Daleks really like the fact that he thinks like they do, i.e. does not value human life and wants to be supreme, the number one, el uno. Mm. And I just like this whole thing with him, like, again, how many of y'all living out there have worked real terrible retail jobs where you were expected to just be perfect and never, ever ask for help, or always thought, like, if we call you in, you will come in. And if there's, if we're shorthanded that day, you won't take your lunch break. And this whole thing with this guy being like, we don't have the people. You want us to work overnight. There's no way we're getting this done. I was just like, man, this is just so familiar to anybody who has had these kinds of like low paying jobs. You are just treated like a machine and reminded constantly that you can be replaced at the drop of a hat and nobody is going to care. There's just there is nothing like any like respect for the fact that you might have a family or a life outside of that job. And it's sort of like, it's a bummer because I feel like people could watch this and really distance themselves from it. And I wish folks who had not experienced this kind of thing understood more how real this sort of treatment is for a lot of people still out in the world. Like,
yeah.
It is,
especially because the laws have made things like right to work, which really is right to hire, right to fire. You can fire someone for anything. You don't even have to have a reason in a right to work state, which means that your job is never secure.
Yeah, like being treated like this is what led to unionizing. And now there is like, when I worked at Target when I first moved to Philadelphia, that was one of the few jobs I was able to get right away. And there was a 15-minute segment of our 6-hour orientation where we watched a video of an example of what you somebody trying to convince you to unionize and how it's really, really terrible. And then the 45 minutes after that was spent telling us how to narc on anybody who tried to approach us about unionizing. And it is like an immediate firing if they find out that you have approached anybody, or if you've brought in literature or put up a poster about it or anything. That's it. You out.
I've heard people asking why we should look into starting a union for our job, which is just retail. And I get it. I totally get it. But I've always been like, it's a great idea. It's never going to happen. Corporations are never going to allow it to happen. Not for retail. It's just not. Even though it makes a ton of sense that, retail workers should have some form of security and some form of backup if something happens. And it varies from company to company. And I happen to work for a company that really does take care of their employees better than any other retail place I've ever worked at. But even still, there will be people that are like, oh, what if we had a union? And I'm just like, guys.
Yeah.
Be realistic. In this country, in this especially current climate, that'll never, ever fly. You'll just get fired.
Yeah, it's interesting because of the way that things have progressed. Whenever you say like union work, people always think about manufacturing or construction or something like that. Working, for example, my uncle is an electrician, and the way that things have changed, manufacturing has pretty much left the United States. Mm-hmm. And retail is going to be the thing that needs protecting. That's the sector that most folks work in at this point.
Right. And it's a capitalist society, which, I mean, how do you think capitalism keeps going? It's people that go to work at these places to sell you these goods.
And why do you think that manufacturing has vanished from the United States? Because of capitalism, because we can pay other people almost nothing.
It's a
we
snake
were too
eating
well
its own
protected.
tail.
That's what happened.
My friend works for an airline, and they have unions. Mm-hmm. She has a union, and they have like contracts that come up. I don't know what the frequency is, every 6 years or something. And there's like heavy negotiations that go into like what their pay cap is going to be, and trying to get that raised, and trying to make sure that they aren't forced into, because they do this thing with the airlines where they call it junioring. And it's, at least in her airline, it's by seniority. Mm-hmm. So when she was new, if they saw her and they knew they needed people the next day or later that same day, they'd be like, "Oh, you're juniored." And she would be forced into a second shift immediately after her first shift was over. Jesus. And there was one week where I didn't see her. We lived together, and I didn't see her for 4 days. Because she got juniored back to back to back to back for like 3.5 days. And then came home and slept for like 19 hours. Because she literally had been awake for 3 days.
That's like, aren't you like legally insane or something by that point? Is that an old wives' tale?
I think she took some naps, but she was not able to go home because they kept junioring her, because she was so new, she couldn't say no. And so these union contracts that they have, it's always in negotiation how often you can junior people. Like you have to make sure they don't have to work for, 3 days straight or whatever. And it happens with like doctors and stuff too, when they're residents and interns, and they'll have to work for like 150 hours in 1 week. And it's like, well, they're supposed to be caring for other human beings, and they're exhausted.
Yeah.
And they don't have unions, I don't believe, in the medical field.
I don't understand. Well, of course I understand, but it really is so frustrating to know that there are more of us than them, but we are all so vulnerable at all times. And, that there is not an easy way, unless everybody agrees to something, because then this is how you get scabs. And as easy as it is to just be like boo hiss, at the same time somebody has a fucking child that needs like medicine and food, and I can't really even get mad at them,
Yep. I know, but our country is becoming more and more like what happened in the French Revolution, where there was no in between. There was poor and there was rich, and the poor rose up against the rich because they had to.
Yep. Well, like I said, everybody.
It's really hard to like get away from it when every little section we're like, and if only there was this, they wouldn't be in this situation.
Yep. People
are like, I just want to hear a fun romp about. I just want to hear about Daleks. Oh, sorry, guys.
I'm trying to think of exactly how this would work. You know what? I'm not going to say it yet. I'm going to sit on it, and I'm going to let this thought percolate, and then I'm going to see if I come up with something that I can present to you all by the end of the episode. But I have an idea. All right. So this is when this dude shows up and is like, "I've got work for you guys, and it's $1 a day. And you may not come out alive. And, if you don't like it, then don't take the work and starve. And what do I care?" And unsurprisingly, people take the work because that's what that's the work that is available to them. And he comes in there like fucking flanked by these two goons in pinstripe double-breasted suits with leather gloves on, and I was just like, these outfits are pretty sick, to be honest. It must have been fun to design these clothes. And the doctor, because he is very interested in exactly what the fuck is going on here, because he's heard about people disappearing, decides to take this guy up on his offer. And so does Martha, even though, you know.
She's not happy about it.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, okay, cool. Gives him this look as she raises her hand, like,
Doesn't she say, I'm gonna kill you?
Yes, she does. I forgot that she says it. Yeah, it really, like, he keeps bringing her places and acting like they're just gonna have a vacation. And then she keeps getting roped in, like she's literally climbing down into the sewers. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't get much less date night than that. Those of you who are on Tinder probably feel differently.
Not just Tinder, but apparently all the dating apps.
Guys, there's a couple of wonderful ladies in our patrons only groups who have just started to get into dating again and are sharing some screenshots of messages that they receive. And I shouldn't laugh because it's really fucked up, but like, you can't do anything but laugh because otherwise you just want to like go burn some things down. And a sewer is kind. That's a nice way of saying it. So allegedly what they're meant to be doing here is heading down in to clear up like a cave-in, right? Isn't that what he tells them? Yeah, collapse. Yeah. And they go quite a ways before the doctor's like, I don't see any signs of any structural like there's nothing like that going on. And we've walked quite a ways. What exactly is happening here? And we cut back up to this boss who has this talk with the Dalek and gets assessed as being the one that's like, you know, of higher intelligence and also thinks like them. And when he meets up with the Daleks to talk about what's going on a little bit later, completely misjudges the situation and thinks that he's going to be able to just keep doing what he's doing and using the Daleks to back himself without any of the I didn't think they would eat my face, said the woman who voted for the leopards eating people's faces party. It's basically exactly what this is.
Yeah.
You're supposed to turn everybody else into weird creatures. I'm not supposed to be an option. I'm shocked.
Right. Just like the dude in the other universe who had all the Cybermen and then was like, wait, you're going to turn me into a Cyberman? But I allowed you to do this.
People are consistently stupid. So yeah, he winds up getting dragged away, and then we get to find out what's happened to him a little bit later. Meanwhile, down in the tunnels, pigmen are chasing them. So that sucks.
You skipped over the fact that they found this. In my notes, it says a green pulsating lump of alien flesh, right. But I thought it was some weird brain.
It looks like a brain, right?
Yeah.
I totally thought that myself at first as well. What did they find out? Like, it's a piece of a Dalek, right? Like their body inside the thing.
Yeah.
Why is it hanging out down
there? One of the Dalek that fuses with the human says that they were trying to create new Daleks, and it wasn't working.
Okay. So for some reason, one of them, a piece of it just wound up down there.
I don't know why. I guess they flushed it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess they flushed it.
They're in the sewer.
These pigmen are so hideous. Like, it's really lucky for Tallulah's man. What's his name?
Laszlo.
He's lucky that he didn't get transformed the way that they did. Because there's
no way... He said he got away or something?
Yeah, because it's not complete. He's still got his hair, you know, like his own ears and shit.
He does not have his own ears. He has half human ears, half pig ears.
Oh.
He's got a pig nose, and he's got these big, like, tusks coming out of the bottom of his teeth. And I don't know what would be preferable. Do you want to be half a pig or a whole pig?
I would much rather at least have my own hair. At the very least.
I'm picturing you as a half a pig with your own hair.
It'd be very Miss Piggy. There's a precedent for, some bitches still make it look good. I could do it.
Yep. Okay.
And if I couldn't, I would just do that kind of, maybe I would start to wear a, what's the name of the headscarf that covers you from the nose up? Or from the nose down?
Is it a balaclava?
No, balaclavas are like a knitted face mask that you use to like rob banks and go skiing.
Well, so it's a form of hijab, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
what
the correct name is for it, but at least I'd have my own eyes. So if I cover it up from like nose up, you wouldn't be able to tell. It would just be in the privacy of my own home that I am half a pig woman.
Someone draw it, please.
So this is let's
Frank
see.
gets taken.
Oh, right.
They climb up through a manhole, but Frank can't get up fast enough, and he gets taken by them, and they have to leave him.
Poor dude.
Martha's upset about.
Mm-hmm. Understandably.
But they come out of a manhole inside the theater?
Yeah, somehow, because they've like walked a really long ways.
Why is there a manhole inside the theater?
Listen, Jamie, I'm supposed to be the one that asks these questions.
This was a question I asked myself watching it this time because it never really clicked the other times. I probably, to be honest, wasn't paying very close attention. And this time I was like, wait, they end up backstage through a manhole.
Maybe it's a really like rudimentary theater. Maybe. It's, something that just got put up like on a street. And
Sure.
it started off as a block party and then it became permanent. I don't know.
So then Tallulah's there. She's got a gun. She introduces herself as Tallulah, 2 L's, 1 H.
Which is actually helpful. So thanks for that, Tallulah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got her fucking gun that turns out to be a prop gun, which I found amusing. She's, where's my boyfriend? That's how I'm going to go looking for Owen all the time. What you do with Laszlo? I'm just going to run around with a fake gun and just go, where's my boyfriend? And try and find him.
He ghosted her before ghosting was a term.
Yeah, and she's like, I know that some men are pigs, but... And I'm like, show now. Calm down. But they could not help themselves.
They really couldn't. Because I picked up that line too, and I was like, I know Natasha's going to mention it.
Couldn't help myself. But yeah, they went out of their way to show us that it really seemed like he does care about her. It's not just her being in denial.
Yeah, he still leaves a rose on her dressing table. So she knows he's around, but she doesn't understand why he's hiding.
Right. It sucks so much. Poor dude. Yeah, okay. If your man got turned into a half pig man, you'd still love him, right?
Yeah. I would.
You could not have sounded less sincere. I believe you, and I believe that you meant to sound sincere, but you didn't, Jamie.
I started thinking about a pig face and how I do really like pigs, but not like that. But if it was Jason, yes. I would still love him. I would boop his nose, like, oh, look at that nose.
My God, I would boop his nose. How emasculating.
Well, being half a pig kind of is emasculating, is it not?
I mean, setting that aside. But I feel like the one thing that I find, like, you know, aside from the fact that it's a pig nose, really objectionable about his look is just that his tusks are broken off. File them shits down. Get that fixed. If the Dursleys were able to get their son's pigtail removed at a private hospital somewhere and nobody found out about it, you could bring this guy to somebody to get them to fix that shit right up. They could manage it.
Maybe. Maybe not during the Depression.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm always surprised when I look into plastic surgery and how, like, early on that was a thing, because I always think of it as being really like a modern. But they were doing plastic surgery pretty early on.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have like an exact year, but there was a book that I was reading that was set in like the 40s, I think, and people were getting pretty drastic procedures done. But anyway, so we see all of these dudes who are down in Hooverville talking about mobilizing, protecting ourselves because no one else is going to, arm yourselves and come on. And I guess what they pictured was just like defending themselves against some regular old bosses, you know, because they don't know what's going on yet. And even when that's all they think it is, that's really quite admirable that they were like, yeah, we're going to fucking stand up to these assholes with all their money. Fuck them.
Yeah.
And then we see these dudes who are at the top of the unfinished Empire State Building, and they are putting some, what is it called? Dalekanium?
Yeah. It's basically the little, like, panels from the sides, like, their skirt, essentially.
Right.
With all the bubbles. And you can actually see, I noticed it on one of the Daleks, it turned, and from the back, all of its little panels were missing from the back of him.
Aww. The very shirt off my back. So yeah, they're attaching it because this is how they're going to get the power. I have to admit, I didn't completely understand how this worked.
It's something about there's a solar flare that's going to have an increased amount of gamma radiation, and it'll come through the lightning, and the lightning needs to hit this spire at the top of the Empire State Building. And then the Dalekanium will give it more power to do these transformations, is how I understood it. It's kind of like when Frankenstein was making his monster and he used the lightning to, like, power up his machine to bring him back to life.
You know he doesn't do that in the book.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never read the book.
It's real bad. Don't do it. I know there's a lot of people yelling right now because it's a classic and it was written by a woman, and it's really cool that she like started like a horror genre really specifically, and that's all well and good. But listen, I hated that goddamn book so much, you guys. You don't understand. Oh, I hated it. It's just basically, I did this thing without thinking through the consequences, and then it turned out real bad, and so I took it out on this thing that I created as if it were like disobedient to me, and made its life that it didn't ask for totally miserable, and you should feel sorry for me.
Why did this leopard chew my face off?
Yeah, you know what? It isn't total. It's not unlike that. So, these Dalek brains and bits that are all over the place are so gross. It just makes me really uncomfortable. I keep seeing it because the doctor like carried it out and he showed it to Tallulah like in her dressing room, and she has a very understandable reaction of revulsion. And then he like brings it up onto the roof because he's doing his thing as the girls are continuing on with their show. Like this madness isn't happening. And while they are out there, that's when Martha spots what's his face? Laszlo, thank you. I keep wanting to call him Lloyd.
But she sees him and she runs out on stage and tries to hide behind the dancers.
Why? Is it just because he's a pig man and she's afraid of him?
Yeah, well, they just saw all these pigmen who tried to, kidnap them and did kidnap Frank, so...
Does she think that the pig man is just politely waiting on the sidelines before he kidnaps people?
I don't know what she thinks.
It's just such a weird sort of, he's just standing there watching. If he was going to try and take somebody, he would, obviously there's something else going on. But, and running out onto the stage just is inexplicable to me. It's so not... I was watching her doing that, and, at first I thought she was just trying to get Tallulah's attention because she had somehow figured out that it was Lloyd. And
Laszlo.
Lloyd, it's fine, it's Lloyd. But then I realized that she didn't know who it was at all. And that, for some reason, her reaction was to just go out there. She would be safer because, again, he would be too polite to, interrupt the performance to come and get her if he was really interested in, if that was what he was here for, which I just found amazing. But yeah, so we get to see this performance where Tallulah's out here dressed as an angel singing this song, You Bring Out the Devil in Me. And she's great, and I love Tallulah, so that's fun. And all of the girls behind her dressed in red. This whole outfit is so good. They got the little devil tails. Mm-hmm. I want to dress in this outfit for Halloween. I think I might cosplay as one of the dancers. Nobody will know what the fuck I'm cosplaying as because this is such a nothing thing. But, deep cuts like this are kind of a... Although, being Tallulah with the angel wings and the whole... but then it just looks like you're an angel, though, that you're cosplaying as an angel, not that you're cosplaying as Tallulah. What if I was dressed like Tallulah, but I carried around a toy gun?
Sure.
That could work. Yeah, it wouldn't work. Never mind. I shelved the whole idea.
You have a little white rose and a little gun.
And a pig man. I'll have Owen dressed as a pig man.
Exactly.
That actually, if he were with me, I think it would work. I'd be able to pull it off.
Yep. Then you could come to Dragon Con and you guys can dress like that and we'll go to the panel that David Tennant is going to be doing.
When's that?
It's at the end of August.
Where?
Here in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's not happening. That's
David Tennant and Catherine Tate so far are confirmed. Catherine Tate was Donna.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I'm super excited.
That's crazy that she's going to come to something when she was in one episode. Although maybe she's in more and I just don't know yet. But nevertheless, that is...
I mean, she's done lots of stuff. She's one of those people,
Yeah, true.
And Dragon Con is very fandom-y, but they also, they bring people from all kinds of things. And it just said Catherine Tate. It didn't say, representing Doctor Who.
Right, gotcha.
I saw that Catherine Tate was going to be there. I already knew David Tennant was confirmed, and I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah,
she's somebody that I would like to meet. I bet she's fun on panels.
She probably is. I mean, she's very funny.
Yeah.
In general.
So they give chase to this poor half pig man.
For a second, I was like, "Who's Chase?"
Oh my god!
Sorry, I'm sorry. I really did think it. I was like, "Wait, who? What? Who did I miss? Chase?"
I've had that kind of thing happen before, though. Also, yeah, I get why that would. Yeah, but I still hate you. Okay, so. Tallulah follows, and the doctor is like, you are not safe down here. You are definitely not coming. And she's like, I definitely am coming, and you can suck my balls because you don't get to tell me what to do. And
it's a direct quote.
Direct quote. She's a crass woman.
That's why she was afraid to meet his mom.
Yeah, she's like, I might tell your mom to suck my balls just on instinct because that's just how I react to most things. And she might not like it. I'm just warning you now. And the pigmen get a hold of Martha. And while she's standing there with their hands around her throat like they're going to kill her, Spidey shows up. And he's like, you're alive. And that's his name. Everybody's Spidey and Lloyd.
Andrew Garfield is very cute.
He's adorable. Agreed.
I always forget about him, but every time I see him, I'm just like, oh, he's just so cute.
Yeah, agreed. He's got one of them faces. Mm-hmm. Very expressive. She's just got a lot of charisma.
Yeah.
And as they are being dragged away, the doctor is with Tallulah and sees one of the Daleks go by and is like, are you fucking kidding me? Because he keeps thinking that he has managed to get rid of them and they keep surviving. And it's just not fair. And that's how the world works. It's not fair. Inside that shell, there's a creature born to hate whose only thought is to destroy everything. They won't stop until it's killed every human being alive. And Tallulah's like, every human being? What do you mean? Is this thing from outer space? And the doctor just looks at her and is like... And then she's quiet for a moment and then, well, then why is it in New York? Which is a fair question. I don't know what to tell you, Tallulah. Aliens love New York. It's their favorite. You figure it out later when you're looking down on the cityscape, and I applaud you for having that foresight and understanding how, they just like to find tall buildings and blow everybody up on them in dramatic ways, and they'll probably go to DC next, and they'll probably go to the pyramids at some point also, because we like to do that. And what's another landmark? Oh, the
Eiffel Tower.
I was about to say the Eiffel Tower. They'll hit that. They'll hit the Leaning Tower of Pisa too, probably. There's just some places the aliens know it's on the list that they have to do it. It's sort of like a hazing ritual that nobody's going to respect them in the galaxy unless they have managed to knock all of these off of their list. So, yeah, New York is one of them. Anyway, I escaped before they got my mind, but it was still too late. This is Lloyd explaining what happened to the doctor. And he's blaming himself for the pigmen taking Martha because she only was down there because she was chasing after him. And he was really only running to protect his pride, he just didn't want Tallulah to see him. It wasn't that there was any, real danger. And it takes way too long for Tallulah to realize who this is.
Yeah, she should recognize his voice.
It's just from his hair being the same, his eyes being almost the same, his height has not changed, and he's still is he wearing the same clothes even? No, he's got a jumpsuit on. But yeah, she does not know who he is until she pulls him out into the light, and this poor guy is so embarrassed. I feel bad for him in this moment because it's just, and she even says later to Martha, they took the only good thing in my life away from me. There's no future for us now. And it's clear that she's sort of reconsidering whether or not that's true by the end of the episode, and maybe there will be. But it's understandable that she's just kind of yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I didn't marry the guy. I felt bad for him.
If it were Owen, just to turn that question around on you.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely stay with him. Owen's great. Listen, I bet Owen would be the most adorable pig you ever saw, too. Because he's just really cute.
He'd be one of those teacup pigs.
Oh, my God. Would he still have a beard? If he had a beard, that would be even better. But if he lost his beard, that might be the deal breaker. Because I have told him before that if he shaves, I'm leaving him. I really he shaves about once a year in the summer because having the beard gets really hot and the damage that happens to his skin because he doesn't really take care of his skin when he has the beard, underneath. He sort of tries to do a once yearly repair to make up for all of the neglect of the entire rest of the year, which you can imagine just how that works out. But whenever he shaves, it's I don't know who he is. And I mean that in the most literal of ways. I have been sitting on the couch and he has walked in the door, and like I know it's him, but he just looks so different that I have a little tiny panic reaction that I can't control when I see him, and I'm just like, whoa, wait, who? Oh God, it's you. Okay.
My dad told me a story that he didn't have a beard when I was born, but he grew one. And so once I was like old enough to really understand who my dad was, he had a beard. And when I was about a year and a half old, he shaved it off. And the first time I saw him, apparently I started screaming because I did not know who this person was who was trying to talk to me and pick me up and whatever.
Oh, God.
He said, he was like, if you had been in public, people would have thought I was trying to kill you.
Oh, my God. Stranger danger!
Yeah. And I think that's funny because he's never had a beard since.
Oh, weird. Okay.
And so when I see pictures of him with a beard, I'm like, wow, you look really different. And he's just never grown one.
Beards change your look a lot depending on the structure of your face. There are some people that, like Chris Evans, for example, he grows a beard and it's not like he looks that different. I mean,
but he looks 1,000 times hotter somehow.
He does. I really love him in a beard. But it's not like he shaves and I'm like, what? Who is that? Oh my God. But there are some people that it really like, you know, oh, and bless him, does not have a whole lot of chin under that there beard. So when he shaves it, it's a really dramatic change.
Yeah. There was a meme I saw recently that was talking about how beards are like the push-up bra for men. Mm-hmm. And it showed famous guys, no beard and with beard, and how they all look so much better. Mm-hmm. I can't remember who was in the meme, but I would like to point out that if you've ever seen Nick Offerman without a beard, it is shocking.
Yeah. He has no chin. It's crazy. It's crazy, guys. It's like his chin just sort of melted, like, and sank.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think one of them was Jason Momoa.
No!
That dude needs a beard.
Don't tell me that, Jamie. Oh, God.
I mean, he's still hot, but he needs a beard. It just makes him hotter.
There was a friend of mine who I actually like screenshotted it and I use it as a reaction whenever I see like dudes anywhere complaining about women wearing too much makeup. And her comment on something was, as long as dudes continue using a beard to mask the fact that they have between 0 and 7 chins, they can shut up about the fact that we wear eyeliner. I was like, yep, that's pretty good. So anyway, we have to get on with this because we're running way behind. So then we get to meet the human Dalek hybrid. And let's just say, you would have thought that the Ood were the grossest thing until you saw what the Ood looked like without dick-sized fucking tentacles. And I just have to register my displeasure and disapproval.
Like uncircumcised dicks hanging out of this guy's
face. Like, guys, this is straight up like moments away from some really uncomfortable hentai, and I'm not here for it at all in any way.
And they keep moving.
They move so much. They're all shiny and wet looking. They have, like, this textured ribbing on them that, like, who decided to fucking do this? And I just don't. And there's a point at which, like, you're seeing him from, like, behind or the side. And I don't know if it's, like, the light playing through whatever kind of, like, poly coating they put on the mask, or if it's actual droplets of liquid that are at the tips of each of the tentacles. But it looks like there's like a trembling drip of water at the end of each of them that's just sort of, it's not quite enough water to fully form into a droplet and finally come off, but it's enough to see it. and be like, you're on edge just waiting for it to just finally like, and it just never does it. And I just hate everything about it. I hate everything about it. And it's just so, when they finally kill him, I was like, thank God. I don't want to look at him anymore. The Daleks didn't create these metal suits for protection. They did it so that they wouldn't have to look in the goddamn mirror because they're a horror. Anyway.
I don't disagree with any of that. But you made me choke a little.
It's just amazing to me how creepy the Ood are. And yet, you make one like fairly minor change to the design, and I am absolutely not on board anymore.
Well, the Ood, it's almost like they just have like really thick spaghetti. And these are just dicks. They're dick-sized.
And the fact that they, like, move a little, but not much, is somehow worse because dicks do that, also. Dicks will jump around a little bit if a guy, like, flexes his pelvic muscles enough. So they just, like, the whole thing is so dick-like and so just really,
This is a show for children.
What
are they doing?
There is you cannot tell me that kids aren't watching this thinking that. Like, I don't care how innocent-minded you think they are. Get out of here.
It's like how I don't know if this is a rumor or if it's true, that in The Little Mermaid, there's, like, dick shapes in the clouds and stuff like that, where the animators, like, there's hidden dicks all over Disney, apparently. It's like that, except they're like, we'll just do this straight up and maybe nobody will say anything, see what we can get away with on the BBC.
I'm looking at it right now and I'm so mad. Like, because like the dicks, and then there's the exposed brain right above it. It's just, they just decided to take everything disgusting and horrible about the human body and just like put it right in one place and make us look at it because it's a face. And I just feel like that's inexcusable and unforgivable. And this show is going to have to really work hard to get me past this, because there's like, you're going to have to work really hard if there's ever going to be a day where we finish Doctor Who and people are asking, FAQ questions as we wrap up. And their question is, what did you think was the worst, creepiest character design? I can't imagine saying anything but the human Dalek hybrid right now. And I may change my tune at some point, but as of right now, this is the worst thing I've ever laid eyes on.
Well,
they move
luckily we don't have to see much more of him. Oh, wait.
He's around for so long.
So much of the episode. We are actually into the second episode, though.
Right, by now. Yeah. Pain of the flesh. Yeah. The doctor has escaped. Find him. So really, to jump ahead here, he's got some emotions. Mm-hmm. This is very inconvenient. This is causing him to rethink some of what they've been doing and what their goals were. And he's realizing that, like, emotion is part of humanity's strength. And, of course, the other Daleks, who are not... They haven't got woke yet. They are not in agreement or on board with his changing the plan.
Yeah.
And I just have to say that this is sort of a depressing lesson, because it's like, well, we can't reason with them, but maybe this one person can make nope, they killed him.
Yeah.
Is really all it is it comes down to, is just that.
Yeah, because, it goes so far as the doctor is helping him make this happen. Mm-hmm. Because on his end, having Daleks who have the capacity for human emotion means that they're better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's all for that. When normally he's like, I have to destroy them. They're the worst.
Right.
Well, this is better. So, yes, I will help you do that. And these other Daleks are like, fuck this.
Yeah.
This isn't what we're about.
Yeah, so they, because he could have, like, if they have any compassion, you can reason with them, perhaps. But yeah, no, that's not happening.
Yeah. And, like, they take orders, and that's why, up to this point, they've followed everything that Dalek-Sec wants them to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, now they're rethinking it. Like, we don't want that.
Yeah.
We were on board with the idea of fusing Daleks with humans when it meant that it's just going to, help us survive. We don't want any of their nonsense.
Because there's this amazing moment where the two Daleks are talking, and one of them is like, what is your opinion of Dalek-Sec? And the other one, like, does a full rotation of its head to make sure that nobody's listening, which for some reason I found so hilarious. And is like, we are meant to follow him. And he says, but you have doubts. And he says, yes. So our first kernels of the mutiny beginning there.
Yes.
And then we have the raid on the Hooverville. And we have all of these Daleks that fly in after pigmen start to come in and, like, carry people off. The Daleks are also showing up. I'm not sure what they're doing. Like, is it just crowd control while the pigmen do the dragging? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah.
Well, whatever the case, the one dude tries to reason with them. And they shoot him. Which,
Solomon.
Again, that feels very true to life.
Yeah.
Oh, look, a black guy who's like, hey, can't we all just get along? And he just gets summarily executed. Yeah, that feels right. And this is because, he's like, well, certainly we must be able to reason with them. And everybody's telling him, no, dude, we promise you can't. But he does not want to believe that. And this leads to just basically like a wholesale like bombing of the camp. They're just flying around, shooting and dropping bombs and ruining everybody's day. And as this is all happening, Dalek-Sec is very upset because this is not what he wanted. And he didn't ask for them to shoot Solomon. Like, that wasn't supposed to be part of it. And they corner the doctor. And are like, oh, perfect. This is our enemy from ages. We should definitely take our opportunity. He's put himself on a silver platter. Let's do this. And Dalek-Sec is like, no, I need him alive. And they only just barely manage to control themselves and follow the instructions. But it is hard for them, and they do not like it. They really wanted to kill the doctor. Mm-hmm. It's like giving a kid an ice cream cone and taking it away again. And he gets carried in, and Dalek-Sec talks to him about what it is that he is trying to do. And we find out that there are like 1,000 people whose brains they've wiped that are just sitting there waiting to be filled with Dalek mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that there is really no saving them. There's no way to put their own minds back. There is no way to make them what they were. These people are gone. They've been killed already, essentially.
Yeah, they're just shells.
Yeah. And I think that's also part of it. Is like the doctor, if the Daleks are going to have some human empathy, and because the humans aren't savable, he's like, all right, well, I guess I will try and make the best of this horrific situation that you all have created and try and get this to actually work. When he says human emotions make you weaker, and that was what your like great leader said all those years ago, Dalek-Sec says he was wrong. We must return to the flesh. And everybody, and by everybody I mean all of the Daleks behind them, he starts to be like, we have to give up on that purpose. And the one Dalek says, that is incorrect. And I am a big fan of just, I think all caps, that is incorrect on like racist pages and stuff might be a new thing that I just drop in and do. Just say that. Maybe I'll make a burner account that's just a picture of a Dalek instead of my own. And I'll just come in and say that and then just bounce.
Sure.
So Martha and Tallulah and Frank have been sent off on a mission to look at the blueprints of the, I was about to say Eiffel Tower, the other one.
Empire State Building.
There you go. Because they're trying to figure out exactly where it is that the Daleks could be getting their power from on this, right? That was like the point.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of wheel spinning in this episode.
Yeah, I kind of like, as I'm going over this, I'm just realizing how many little things I kind of didn't like really either understand, fully pay attention to because I just didn't realize that they were going to matter that much, or no, pretty much those things.
Yeah. This could have been one episode.
Yeah,
and
really
because
could.
they've filled it into two, there's a lot of, I don't know if they're necessarily repetitive scenes, but scenes that aren't necessary, like Martha and Tallulah just sitting and moping in the tent. That, like, I don't even want to bring it up because I don't even want to focus on it. There's just a lot of scenes like that where I kind of feel like we can just gloss right over it. Like, yeah, they're trying to figure out what the deal is with the Empire State Building and why that's important. Martha stares at these blueprints for like 5 scenes.
Yeah, it goes on a really long... They just need her to have something to do, I guess, while the doctor is over here, but...
Yeah, because they're filling time.
Mm-hmm. And
so, basically, she, like, figures out... Sorry.
No, go ahead. What?
Basically, she just figures out that they're putting something on the spire.
Right.
And they remember that something was mentioned about Dalekanium, and then they're like, we've figured it out.
Yep. Yeah, which, all right, I feel like that shouldn't have been taken that long to figure out, but because, you know, the tip of the tallest building when you're dealing with space people, seems like that's just sort of the thing that they love, so. But anyway, I really did not like the scene where they were moping together because I felt like Tallulah was really shitty. Like, Martha's trying to be, like, because Tallulah says it's obvious that you guys are together. And Martha's like, it's not obvious to him. Like, that's not actually the case. And she says something about how he used to be with somebody else. And when he looks at me sometimes, I don't feel like he sees me. I feel like he's just remembering. Mm-hmm. And Tallulah's response is... Well, if you want, do you want to be all sad and try and get in a contest with me about Lloyd?
Yeah.
What the fuck? What is that?
Well, at least your guy's not turned into a pig.
Like, how about we don't fucking go into the who's the saddest Olympics? Like, and you just like listen to what she has to say. It's just a crappy response. And like the only thing that in the script, like, it seems like they wrote that line and then they just didn't know where to go with it. So Martha just goes, no. And that's like it. And that's the end of the scene. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, guys, what was that? But sure. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I had meant to mention that I was just like, that just felt rude and totally unnecessary. And you're right. This really could have been one episode. So... Yada, 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 setting the whole thing up on the roof. The doctor's going to try and peel that shit off so that it doesn't work because they're using that to, like, also put some of the DNA into the whatever. I don't know how that works. And there's a storm of brewing also. So that's another factor in this whole thing. That they have to beat the storm before this flare hits. And... as he's like working on that, they're trying to go up and like physically attack the Daleks. They've got like hammers and shit. What is it that they're trying to do?
They didn't have any weapons with them, so they just picked up stuff because they're at the toppest floor. They're at the top floor. It's like lost all language. I have been up since 4 a.m. So they're at the top floor, and it's still under construction. So they just grab what they can find, which are like hammers and stuff. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the doctor's up there like trying to actually get the Dalek parts off of the spire using his sonic screwdriver, and it's taking a really long time.
Right. So they're like guarding, basically. Because I kept thinking that they were like going to attack because I was forgetting how the scene went.
Yeah. And it's not the Daleks, it's the pigmen. And they realize they're not going to be able to fight these pigmen. So they decide to electrocute them by sticking a bunch of metal pieces up against each other and leading out to the open window that's not put in yet.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So when the doctor gets electrocuted up there, when the building gets hit, it'll conduct into these things and like electrocute all the pigs.
I'm sorry, guys. I just can't with this show sometimes. When Jamie is explaining a thing, and she's like, and they stick it through the window, it's not there yet, and then it's just gonna like, electrocute all the pigs.
It's just
like,
so
what are
much,
we doing?
It's so much wheel spinning.
Oh,
this
God.
didn't have to have so many scenes, is all.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. So, okay. We have our dudes, marching, and there's this whole face-off that winds up in the theater where they kill Dalek-Sec, and I'm just like, good God, put him out of his misery. Put us all out of our misery at this point. They're standing on the stage, and there's all this smoke, too. Like, there's no way these Daleks are not aware of how dramatic they fucking look. And then it turns out that some of these Dalek people, well, not some of them, all of them, are not actually full Dalek because the doctor did something?
Because the doctor got electrocuted with the rest of it, and it infused his DNA with the Dalek DNA into these human shells. It doesn't make sense.
So do we have a bunch of like low-key time-traveling human beings sitting around somewhere?
Well, no, because they all die.
Oh, yeah, right. I forgot about that part where they all die. My bad.
Yeah, the Daleks then kill them all because they are questioning the orders, and it's revealed that they have Time Lord DNA, and they're like, oh, well, fuck this, and they just kill them all.
Yep. Yeah, they kill them with like a sound. Like it's like this transmission through their brains.
And then the doctor's like, this is genocide!
Which, dude, honestly, how is that the thing that's you're preoccupied with? Like, they were already dead.
Yeah.
The rage that the doctor has so much of the time to me feels wildly misplaced, and this is definitely a good example of that for me. Like, genocide of a new species, he says. And I'm like, I guess, like, technically.
And you also really probably don't want this species to be around.
Yeah. That's like all I could think was like, these folks are dangerous and you don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not really in a place where I'm just like, well, everybody deserves a chance to live. I mean, ideally that would be lovely, but these things were created for like murder.
Yeah.
So maybe it's fine.
Yeah. And then he goes and faces off against the last Dalek that's left.
Right. And it's just like, I'm out. And just like jumps.
Emergency temporal shift.
Right. And he's real mad because he missed his chance to finally kill the last one, and it gets away again. And I'm like, of course it does. Of course it does. Because you're bad at your job, Doc. I hate to tell you this, but...
And then there's a little thing about Laszlo being on his deathbed because the pig slaves only survive for a few weeks, so the doctor, does something, we don't even see it, to save him.
Can you believe that? That he's in the middle of talking about how he's going to do it, and then it just jumps, and we don't even see what he did? That is... this show, usually that kind of crap is what its strong suit is. That we're just going to make up this ridiculous, weird solution. And it's going to be is it science fiction or is it magic? Are those things different? Who knows? But they didn't even bother.
Yeah.
It's just so incredibly lazy to me.
Yeah, and instead they wasted our time with 15 different scenes of the Daleks, talking about their plan.
Right. Yeah.
Because, again, this could have been one episode, not two.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense, after watching it, why you were just do you want to just do 2 next week? And I'm glad that we did, because I just don't really think we would have had enough to talk about with one episode.
And I also didn't want to have to deal with this for 2 weeks.
That's fair. Yes.
And in the end, Laszlo is saved. He and Tallulah stay together. They get to live in Hooverville. And Martha's like, oh, I guess it's true. There's someone for everyone. And Doctor's like, yeah, maybe. Totally
the doctor is super rude. Whenever she brings up anything to do with relationships or romance, it's I to a degree, I get it. It's almost she clearly has this crush on him and is interested in him, and he is clearly not interested in her. And there's a vibe of him just being sort of low-key irritated that she keeps bringing it up, I think, because he's just not interested, and he's sensing that she's being pushy. So, in that respect, as a woman, I really understand just being maybe, and then just walking away. But at the same time, I wish that he would just deal with,
yeah, just tell her, look, I loved Rose. I lost her. I'm not over it. Mm-hmm. I'm not in a place where I can reciprocate. Mm-hmm. Please respect that.
Yep.
But he doesn't. He's just if I ignore the situation, it'll go away. Which is a total dude thing to do.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
So she asks him if he thinks they'll meet with Dalek Khan again. That's the one who survived, and he's like, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, he knows he has not seen the last of him.
Yeah. So I did look up a little bit about the Cult of Skaro, which is what these 4 Daleks were.
Okay.
They were, at first, just ordinary Daleks, and Dalek-Sec was a commander of the 7th Incursion Squad sent to wipe out the remnants of the mechanoids, whatever. Dalek Khan was an attack squad leader. Dalek Thay was a commandant of Station Alpha, the most secret Dalek research facility, and Dalek Jast was a force leader. And the Emperor noticed how effective they were and made them the Cult of Skaro, which was a planet that they were from, I think.
Okay.
Originally. And he also made them the only Daleks with names.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So that's why they're different. The Cult of Skaro is a secret society, basically, that the Dalek Emperor made. And during the Time War, they vamoosed out of there to save themselves and ended up in the Void, which is they, got out of, and that's what Doomsday was.
Right. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because when they had names, I was kind of oh, is that a thing? But I just don't trust my knowledge at all. So I was maybe it's always been a thing. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
and part of it was I couldn't remember if we had seen them once before or if I'm remembering something from a later episode. So I wanted to look it up before I brought up anything about them. But they are the same Daleks that we saw at Torchwood.
Cool. Okay.
that then when things started going sideways, they once again, like, temporal shifted out of there. And then that's how they got to 1930 New York, from their temporal shift from that battle.
Right. Huh.
So
okay, cool.
So that's that. We don't have any new reviews since last week.
Well, I guess nobody likes us, and they all hate us, and they want us to go eat worms.
I guess so.
Well, guys, I hope that you all have been enjoying us now that we have finally returned after all of this time. Oh, it has been a minute, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks before the last episode dropped.
I wanted to drop some information real quick. So I made an announcement on like Facebook and sent info to all my patrons and whatnot. But I am going to be phasing out the $1, $3, and $15 tiers on Patreon on July 1st. So if you have been sitting on the fence and wanting to become a patron at $1, or $3 or $15, if you do it before the 1st, you will remain a patron after those have been phased out, and you will still have access to things as if that tier still existed. The change will only be that from July 1st on, there will be no new patrons at $1, $3, or $15. So basically, that's the deadline for you being able to sign up at that level. And if you decide to join at that level and then you want to move to a different one, you will not be able to return to that level. So I'm doing this because I had some one-on-one time with a representative from Patreon, and they told me that the information they have pointed to pages being more successful with fewer tiers because it gives people less choice and they don't get so overwhelmed. And that having a tier that starts from, I think they said like $3 to $5 made folks feel like they were making more of a difference, which led to them becoming patrons more at a higher percentage rate than pages that only had $1. And I know that that's not always good. I had somebody email me and be like, well, I only pledge at $1 for everything. And I'm like, that's fine, but that's not what the data says. And that's, y'all know me, I'm a Ravenclaw. I like data. I like to be told that this is, not anecdotes. And this is something that I have never tried before. And $1 patrons have been getting a whole lot. And it's always been sort of a question for me because a lot of people have said that I'm kind of undervaluing myself and that I should raise my pledge levels. But I never really wanted to just alienate all these people that were already in at $1 and be like, become a $5 patron or leave. And that's because I didn't know that I could just retire that level and keep all those dollar patrons and it wouldn't change anything for them. I thought that I would have to like force them into a new tier. And it turns out I don't have to do that, which is great. So like I said, July 1st, that will be the first day at which that is no longer an option. $1, $3, and $15. So if y'all have been sort of biding your time, wondering if you want to do this, if you have a really tight budget and $1 is all you can manage, get in there now. And you can do that at patreon.com/unspoiled. And at $1, you will get access to the Harry Potter rereads, which we are just starting the 6th book now for the reread, Half-Blood Prince. And you also get access to all of the back catalog stuff, which there's a lot. So, it's and you will also still get access to the patrons only Facebook page or Facebook group, which is super active and a lot of fun. There's a lot of people who really, they say they hardly listen to Unspoiled shows anymore, but they stay a patron because they just like the community so much, which makes sense because these people are great and most of the internet is garbage. So I really feel like I've managed to corner the market on not garbage, which is cool. So yeah, I just wanted to let all of you guys know that. And, I am also going to be at LeakyCon in Dallas this year. Those of you who are in the area who, are wondering if you should go, you should. There are still tickets available. Last year it sold out really quick, but because this year they're having 2 Leaky Cons, the tickets are still available for both of them. So yeah, if you want to meet me or meet Rashawn, who does Harry Potter with me, and Dresden Files, we are going to be there doing a couple of panels, and probably doing some kind of meetup at some point as well, which we will let you all know about as the time draws closer. So yeah, that's about it for that. And then just saying hi to the newest of the new patrons. We have Katie Butcher, Sal Niner, just making sure I'm not getting people mixed in here who have been patrons for a minute, because the way this is set up is kind of frustrating. Nathan Diffie, Leas Schmidt, Shauna Yu, Patrick JDL, Katie Bennett, Julie Thompson, Katya KM, Matt Montez, and Nikolai Dowd. So welcome to all of you folks. Thank you all so much. If you became a patron and I didn't read your name because you fell into a spot where we were on break and I didn't go back far enough, please message me and tell me, read my name, please, because I will be more than happy to do that. I just want, I try and keep things a little bit concise in that area, because when we've been gone 3 weeks, it's a lot of names to get through. So, but some people just don't really mind. So I just putting it out there. If you really are like, hey, I'm pledging, I want you to say it, I will gladly do so, friend. Please tell me. Is there anything you want to add, ma'am?
No.
All right.
I'm good.
Well, folks, thank you all so much for listening and being great. We love you. I hope you're enjoying the show. And we will see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.